Hello and welcome back to the OxPol podcast. This is episode 2 of our brand new series where we, a group of people, talk about politics and other things that we find interesting. So stick around if you enjoy that. If you don't, I don't really blame you, to be honest. So yeah, I've been given the great privilege of introducing this episode, if you like. As always, I'm joined by the other two great members of the team. So yeah, how's it going, boys?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Just trying to enjoy the British summer currently. Trying to
Cool.
get out as much as I can, see as much people, that kind of thing. What about you, George?
Greetings, everyone. I am not doing very much. I have been to look at bathroom tiles today, so that's rather interesting.
Oh, whereabouts did you go?
Minoli, near the mini
Wow,
plant. That's the
that
one.
does sound bespoke, I might say.
Yes,
But
very
yeah,
beautiful place, I would say.
Yeah,
cool,
I've done a lot.
good stuff.
A little thing I'd like to mention we didn't really clarify it last time, but if you want to address any topics on the podcast, be sure to DM us via Instagram at OxPol Podcast, or of course on our YouTube channel in the comments section. We're very happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Just ask us a question, and we will take it into consideration for a future episode.
Yeah, we do have a very, very long list, but if
We
there's
do.
anything urgent that you need us to talk about,
you know.
then yeah, we'll talk about it. And I was thinking of doing a mini series, not in the podcast, but like on the side of the podcast, on the podcast name, about just like explaining stuff and being strictly educational. But we'll see. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll not. See what happens.
Fair enough. And yeah, is there anything else we need to?
More
address?
admin. I think. Oh yeah. Eventually we're going to have guests on, which we're happy
Yeah.
about.
Oh right. Yeah. Of course.
But for I think we're going to have one more episode that's just us, and then we'll start getting people on. Yeah, we want people from all over the political spectrum. We don't care if you know nothing about politics, or all you do is read theory. We don't care. Right wing, left wing, whatever. It's all good for us because it's political discourse nonetheless, and that is always good.
Exactly. And again, if you do want to get involved, once again, feel free to DM us on Instagram, so then you can get your name on the waiting list. I think there's not going to be a big waiting list, to be honest, but you know, there you go.
All
I
two
think
people.
We've got one or two already.
Yeah. We got a couple of fine fellas ready to join.
do.
Yes,
We
indeed,
do.
indeed.
It's going to be good.
It's gonna be good. Anyhow,
So,
we our first topic is very, very recent. It only really
It is.
came out today, and that is the Russia report.
so
This-
Lordy
recent.
Lord.
Lordy Lord indeed. So for those who don't know, the government has finally, after like 3 years, published a report on Russian collusion. Collusion, is that the right word? I'm not sure. Russian,
Yeah, collusion, corruption. Same
Yeah.
Sort of,
yeah, involvement in the 2016 EU referendum. And it has come out that not only did the UK government know that there was a threat from Russian interference, but they didn't do anything about it. What do you guys think? Myself, I'm not surprised.
No, I agree there. It's pretty obvious, to be honest. I'm pretty. Well, it's no surprises really.
What do
It's
you think?
What we
George?
expected.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I feel as though I don't know. I've not read up about it, but I don't know how serious the threat was or how prominent the threat was, and I don't know as to which way it sided. So
Oh yeah.
I really
yeah.
need to hear a
Yeah.
bit more about it.
I did
Or-
have
Yeah.
I do have a theory on it though. So, right, we'll rewind a bit, right? So, in terms of Europe, like since Europe was founded, there's the EU, more like, not Europe, since it's the continent lifted out of the sea. No, since the EU was founded, there's always been kind of two camps in the European Union. So there's been the EU kind of quote unquote Western side. So that's like the British Isles, Western Europe, and Scandinavia, right? Well, aside from Norway. And then the other side's been Russia and like the old USSR.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
old USSR.
Yugoslavia.
Yeah, the Yugoslavian nations, that kind of thing. And like throughout the years, the EU has just undoubtedly become more powerful, right? So the Eastern European countries are like continue to join, right? But then, right, all of a sudden, out of the blue, because the EU referendum, let's be honest, it was out of the blue. It was pretty crazy that this just came about. But all of a sudden, the whole EU hears that one of the most influential members of the EU is going to leave, right? So then Russia's just like, Russia, I bet, is sitting there like, okay, well, this is a perfect opportunity to weaken the EU, right?
Yes,
so then
I see.
then they go and interfere with the 2016 election and get us out, because let's be honest, the EU exit, Brexit has weakened the EU, and it will weaken the EU because there's continued anti-EU sentiment spreading throughout the EU currently, and I think a lot of it is Russia's doing. And I'm not surprised, because this Tory government, right, they wanted to leave. I mean, that's as simple as that, right? And if a foreign power comes in helping the Leave campaign, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did nothing about it. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they knew that it was actively happening, because it benefits their side. And yeah, that's my theory on it, that the government knew it was happening, but they just let it happen because it it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from with that, but I don't necessarily think, even just for the sake of the Tories' reputation, that they were as involved. I don't think they necessarily had active involvement in the corruption or collusion, but they were more just they had an idea it was going on.
But I feel like at that level, just doing nothing is involvement with the corruption. If you're like if you know that it's actively occurring and just do nothing about it, then surely that's just enabling the corruption. And as a government, you should do something to stop it, regardless of whether it supports your side or not.
I understand that. As I said, I don't know to what extent this collusion was occurring. So I think it really depends on how much was known about it at the time, and as I said, to what extent it was happening.
Yeah, for sure. But the future of the EU is it's
dark.
It is dark to a certain degree. I mean, like looking at the Polish election results, and the Polish Peace and Justice Party narrowly winning the election, I think like the EU is in a deadlock at the moment, because I was saying like obviously you've got Viktor Orban in Hungary, who is very anti. Viktor Orban in Hungary, he's very anti-EU, very conservative, and then you've got I completely forgot his name, Duda in Poland. Sorry, he's very, very anti-EU, and whenever each of them get sanctioned by the EU, they just get vetoed by one another. So the EU
I remember this. Yeah,
EU is currently in a massive deadlock, and I'm not sure if it will be broken for a very, very long time. And to me, that's rather scary, especially the kind of policies that people like Duda are portraying. So like the whole idea that the LGBT community is an ideology, and it's like something you choose, and like the LGBT free zones. I think that kind of stuff is very, very bad.
Very scary.
I just got a Discord call out of nowhere. Yeah, that will. But yeah, it is scary. I feel like we are doing a very scary, maybe not right wing as per se, but a very scary authoritarian traditionalist turn in the EU, and I feel like it's only going to spread to the other Eastern European countries. But then again, if you look at the polls, like the young people voted almost overwhelmingly for the Liberal candidate, and so maybe for a bit it will be dark and then it will get better. But I'm wondering if the damage will be irreversible by the time we get there.
Yeah, because that could be said again about this is slightly different, but like with Brexit, the vote, the share of Remainers was mostly people from younger generations. If people were voting now, I reckon that the proportion of Remainers would be much higher, because all the people who are, I don't know, say 16 to 18 would be able to come in to vote now. So, like, I reckon that although there is a dark time ahead, it will probably get better as more people grow up and are able to vote. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm just hoping
should be
more
interesting.
countries don't leave the EU.
Yeah, that's
I
the
don't
thing.
see traditionalism and a more authoritative style of leadership as a bad thing personally, but that's just sort of a
Yeah, but
It
I
really
feel like when
depends.
you're creating things like LGBT free zones, like
Yeah,
oh
that's
yeah, I agree, that's
ridiculous.
just stupid, but I
yeah,
think
like this guy in Poland, he was labeling this liberal guy as an extremist and like alleging that he was gonna take money away from the Poles and collude with Jewish interests or whatever. Like, how can you not see that that's just crazy?
to us, yeah, no, I completely agree, but to a certain extent I do rather support traditionalism.
But I think
Where
yeah, Karen, sorry.
um whether that I don't necessarily think that should have an involvement in religion, as like I see that anti-LGBT zones is more based upon religion and more viewed from that point. But I think just more traditionalist values in society is never a bad thing.
Well,
Yeah, yeah, you go, Brent.
I don't know. I just agree with. Well, I disagree with what George said. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't see that as a way of really thinking.
Yeah, I think traditionalist views are the views that sow hatred and prejudice among
Exactly, because
people.
yeah,
I think that's the case with a small a
So,
small list of certain views that
so
were based.
what traditionalist views would you say don't sow
yeah,
some
because
sort of
in
hatred?
most cases, traditionalist views come with religion, and I'm not saying all religion, but like a large chunk of religion is or was, quite prejudiced towards certain
I
groups,
mean,
and
religion as a concept, depending on how far you want to take it, was just designed to control people.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You
Oh
can be
yeah,
religious
yeah,
all you
no, I
want, but
agree.
like the traditionalist views that come with it are often quite an old way of thinking and slow us down, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. It slows down the march of progress.
It
I
does.
guess the way I look at it, traditionalism and conservatism are kind of intertwined, and that's why I see more conservative values as a better thing, and hence more traditional.
So, give us
Feel
an
that you've got
example of a couple traditionalist views. Sorry. Like,
okay. No, you've got me now.
Oh, I put on the
Just
spot.
no,
like
it wasn't meant to be a
the
gotcha question or anything. I was just wondering.
no,
Yeah,
yeah, like
it's
I
interesting.
so like traditional conservative party, like the Churchill era, more some of the values that that party pushed at that time, like just a more sort of basic living.
Huh.
I can't really explain it. I
What?
can't
So
really explain it,
but like a style of living that's kind of less based on consumerism, or
no, less consumerism and more this sort of very modern, more globalist view that
uh
multiculturalism, that sort of thing is what I'm
oh,
getting at.
okay. No, okay, I get what you mean. Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting. I mean, I disagree. Like,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
no.
because cultures to me are of no value on their own,
See, I
and I
completely
believe,
disagree with that.
yeah, well, no, but I believe you can't tie a culture to a specific group of people. Cultures are so incredibly mixed with like so many different things, and I think, let's say you had a culture where all you do is play football, for example, and then a bunch of people came over and also played basketball, and then the culture involved football and basketball. I would say that then is the culture, right? I don't understand the point of arbitrarily picking a time where the culture was in this specific place and trying to preserve that, because I think cultures are so incredibly changing that there's no this is the culture, this is what we must preserve. I think they change so often that that's the part of the culture to a certain degree.
I think you can have cultural heritage in a country, but at the end of the day, the culture is humanity. You know, we're all humans. I don't know. I think it's foolish to kind of be proud of having certain culture that you're born into, because you're born out of luck, really.
Yeah, it's an accident.
You can't choose where you're born.
Yeah.
I see culture more based around religion and how like different religions have different values. So I'll use the example of Islam with Sharia law, and that being brought over to the UK with like immigration, and then you see this like mixing of very opposed cultures like traditional Christianity and traditional Islamic viewpoints that when they sort of come together, it separates society in a way.
But to me, to a certain degree, I don't think that's culture. I think that's just religion, and I think that's why religion is awful. And it's
I think they're intertwined.
Because a religion and a culture is different. Because, well, from more out the way I look at it, they're different. Because a religion, anyone can be whatever religion they want, and I mean it should be really the same with cultures if you look at it. But cultures are usually associated with individual regions or countries, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like religion is more associated with an establishment rather than
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are just scared to a certain degree of losing what they once had to a certain degree. Like let's say you losing your English culture or whatever. And I just feel like I don't think that's true. I don't think that's a credible threat. I think the English culture stays alive as long as you keep it alive, and I don't think anything can change that because it's a very like individual thing, to me at least.
I see British culture as being something that the whole of the, like all of the, not necessarily the groups in society, but all areas of the UK can like fit into British culture, and I think mixing of cultures separates different areas of the UK, because with a mix of cultures you get separation because people don't
I think by definition mixing cultures brings people closer together. Because
no, I disagree.
You're like people are becoming like, let's say you had Scottish culture and English culture, and then they were mixed and intertwined to form like UK culture. That's bringing people together.
Yeah. It's introducing different people to different ideas and
things rather than just like holding this like form of tribalism or whatever.
It's more based on how extreme that culture is. So the difference between British culture and a Middle Eastern culture is very polarized, but the difference between English culture and Scottish culture is very minimal. It's more based on
I feel like there isn't much difference between English and Middle Eastern culture, but I feel like there is a difference between English and Middle Eastern religion. I think they're completely different things.
So
yeah,
what we're saying here is that like it just depends on whether you see religion and tradition and culture as an intertwined value or whether they're separate.
Yeah. To a certain degree. But yeah, I'm obviously I really like multiculturalism. I think
I agree.
That's the only one of the ways that society can become more accepting.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree. But yeah, I get that. I can see where you're coming from, I guess.
But yes.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
that was an interesting one.
Do we want to?
What I did want to talk about now, which is very important, is the whole China deal. With the whole...
Oh, right, yes.
Lord.
Of course.
Yeah, so China now has come to light. I mean, they've probably been doing it for years, but China is committing genocide. And I think it is time for the international community to actually do something about it.
I completely agree with that.
I think our politicians need to grow a backbone and actually criticize them and like abstract money and the economy and like losing investment and infrastructure away from people literally being sterilized and forced into concentration camps. because that
Yep,
matters
in a world-
more.
In a world, you need leaders who care about the people over anything else. And if we and the whole world continue to ignore them just because, we might profit from a bit of trade with them, that's just ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it has been happening for years. We've seen evidence in the past, for previous years, but new footage has shown the real severity of it. And I just think, now is the time to act.
Now is the time to act, indeed. But yeah, it's just it's frustrating that nothing's happened. And for those of you that don't know, we're talking about the whole the Uyghur Muslims who are a ethnic group in the northwestern part of China. So they're a Turkic people. And so basically, throughout years, they've been placed into concentration camps or re-education camps, or whatever you want to call them. But essentially, they are concentration camps, where they are forced to sing CCP songs, forced to learn Mandarin, forced to eat pork, have their heads shaved completely. So all terrible stuff. And the women, and now it's being circulated that the women are being sterilized, which under the UN categorization of genocide counts as a genocide.
Yep.
So so there's been a couple of international movements going on. So the people have written to the UN Human Rights Watch talking about it, but as always, the UN probably won't do anything about it because they don't do anything about anything ever. And then, so recently, a petition that was talked about a lot on Twitter reached 100,000 signatures about the UK putting sanctions on China. So that has to be debated in Parliament now, which is interesting.
Yeah,
I think things will definitely come of this. I think it's too serious and too much of a hot button issue for anyone to ignore.
To just put under the carpet and just talk about how they fund our infrastructure or whatever.
Yeah,
and I think even down to privacy, concerns. It's like, as much as it's not making much of a difference at the minute, I think it's a good start in criticizing China and like making aware of what they're doing as a more of an organization, but
raising awareness. And although it's nowadays, considering how globalist we are as a world, it's very difficult to just boycott things nowadays, obviously. But I feel like if all of the rest of the West, quote unquote, Western world were to rally against China and place sanctions, we could create a environment where we don't fund human rights violators, and we don't support those regimes. And because let's be real, without the West, or like abstracting from all the soft power that China has in like Africa and places like that, without the West, their economy would collapse without a doubt.
Right.
And
Because
so
I think within the next, maybe, I'm not sure of the time period, but I think soon enough we'll see countries pulling together and taking actions.
Yeah.
You'd hope so.
I think Trump is, as much as you may dislike him, I think he'll take a good stance on this.
Well,
considering his...
He might do it to... I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like for him it's not a human rights issue, it's an economic issue.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. I disagree. I think even down to his looking into banning TikTok, it's just sort of cementing a base for him to come off of and act. I don't think he's as worried about the economy in this situation as you'd think. I think he will take actions.
Well, yeah,
he might take action, but at the end of the day, he's doing it because he has to, rather than because he feels he needs to. If you get what I mean.
I'm not sure. I
don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting, but
I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about how it really does feel like we are in the infancy of a Cold War, like an economic Cold War, with China and then all the other countries it bankrolls.
Yes.
So it will be interesting, and obviously news articles are coming out day by day about what's going on. But
Did you see?
yeah, you go.
Did you see the one? It was just continuing on with that issue with the interview with the UK ambassador from China. It's just
Yeah,
them further.
him like denying about
Yeah.
like, oh, where have these videos come from? It's just
How
it's
can you deny that?
shameful.
I know. I just hope that something gets done quickly.
Yeah. And
'Cause
it's
just...
and then like the audacity of them saying when we like took down all the Huawei infrastructure, them saying that, oh, we're not creating a fair playing field.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're like economically biased or whatever. It's just the audacity that they have is insane. And I really hope something will come out of this, and I'm confident that it will. But
Indeed.
building on Mr. Trump, I have changed my opinion on who's going to win the 2020 election after watching that Fox News interview. Oh my Christ!
Yeah.
I thought Joe Biden didn't know where he was, right? But
I've not seen this, by the way.
No, I don't think I have either.
It was absolutely horrendous. He just...
Is it recent?
Yeah, very recent. And this was the guy. I completely forgot his name. He's a Fox News guy, right? He roasted him so much harder than any liberal media has done so far. And this is Fox News, like the Trump fan club. And
I was
just looking at the state of Donald Trump in that interview. I think Joe Biden's got it. Although, like abstracting how terrible Joe Biden is, I think he's got it.
Yeah. So I was ever since I guess I said this last time, but since really about April, May time, my opinion has shifted and shifted like more and more as the months have gone on because of coronavirus, because of the BLM movement, because of everything that's happened. And I guess I'll have a look at this afterwards, and it just cement the point that Trump he doesn't have this in the bag anymore, like everyone thought he would.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see.
It will be interesting to see. What's your opinion, George?
I'm not sure. It changes a lot, as does everyone's, I think. But it really comes down to the so-called silent majority in this case. I think it's more Middle America, so to speak, or the southern states that will cement.
Because I was going to talk about the polls, but when have the polls been ever reliable?
Yeah, exactly.
Trump was around
2016.
Yeah, for sure. And it is very. I just don't know what's going to happen, and I cannot predict it. But as you said, no matter what you think of Biden, even if you don't vote for him, if America has a democratic president, a democratically controlled Congress, and maybe a democratically controlled Senate, good stuff will happen. Better than
there's people that Biden will work with, and Trump just gets rid of anyone who he disagrees with. That won't be the case, and that's what I think, and that's what you think. I don't know what George thinks on that situation, but
I can't imagine a democratically controlled entire Congress. Sounds great for your views, George.
I don't know. I disagree with a lot of what Biden said, but I'm not a fan of Trump in any way either. I don't think either of them are suitable candidates. Neither of them represent my views at all. So, but I don't necessarily see that Trump's done much in his term. Like, he's made a few stupid decisions. He's not particularly made a massive difference.
Well,
I think apart from obviously COVID, yes. But I think I really dislike what Biden said about the end of shareholder capitalism. I think that's stupid. I don't think that would be good.
But I don't think he means what. Yeah, as I said last time, I don't think he means what he's talking about. I think he's just.
And I'm also not a fan of progressive policies, as you can probably tell from my traditionalist views, and I think that will be a large factor in Biden's campaign, because he'll be taking advice from. I reckon he'll be looking up to like Bernie Sanders to see what to push, and I'm obviously not a fan of that sort of
You're not a
that
Bernie bro.
viewpoint.
You're not a Bernie
No,
bro,
not in any way at all. So
He was.
I'm not going to support anyone here. I don't feel as though I can.
There,
Well,
there you go. Well, do you want to move on because we've got?
I was gonna talk just quickly briefly about
Alright,
how
go ahead.
the White House is not allowing the Center for Disease Control. So this is the main authority on the
of course,
pandemic.
yeah.
They're not allowing the Center for Disease Control to go to a congressional hearing about the early reopening of schools, and that to me just kind of summarizes how much of like an absolute crony Donald Trump is, and just the White House and the whole like Republican establishment at the moment. I just feel like surely the Center for Disease Control are like the number one people you want in a thing about opening schools, not like
Exactly.
politicians.
And he said that we need to open the schools as soon as possible to take the strain off parents who are getting stressed out. And I've heard, and it's obvious from any parent, would say we are more stressed knowing that our children are going to school in what is a very dangerous environment at the moment, especially in America with the recent resurgence in cases, than they would be if their kids were at home.
Like Florida is gaining like, what is it, like 10,000 cases a day, or even like something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Just what are you doing? Honestly. But yeah, like, did you hear a Republican governor, I think, said something about how like, oh, the children are going back to school. They have to go back to school. They're gonna get coronavirus, and they're not gonna go to hospital. They're just gonna have to get better. And I think that is a perfect summary of how the Republicans have treated this.
Exactly. There you go. It's not ideal, really. Let's put it that way.
I'm glad I'm over here.
Yeah.
Across the pond. Although I don't agree with a lot of Boris Johnson's policies, I'm glad I'm not there.
Yeah, we shall. That is something we shall discuss for another time. Bojo.
Yes.
Bojo and the team. We did talk about it a bit last time with the coronavirus here, but should we move on, because this is something, I guess it's slightly related. It's not really related, but Donald Trump is a billionaire, and this is something we wanted to talk about last time, but it is the billionaire class, and we've got it here titled as Jeff Bezos and his money bags. So,
yes.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
We wanted to talk about billionaires, and mainly the question, should billionaires exist? What do you guys think?
I guess I'll start then. I'll start just simple 2-letter answer, which is no.
Would you like to elaborate on the answer?
Yeah. I don't think any individual should be allowed to own that amount of money, because it's like, sure, you've worked your way up and you've made money, but if you look at it, how on earth can one person work their way and earn or make that much money in a lifetime? Like,
I heard of a word that explains it. I think it starts with E and ends with exploitation.
There you go. That's the word we have before. What do you think, George? Because I know you feel slightly different about this to us.
I just don't agree. I think it's more of a fundamental disagreement in the whole situation. I don't think it's as hard as you'd think it is to earn that amount of money, and I don't know how many levels of exploitation we're meant to look at here. So let's say you make a very good investment of a high amount of money in a stock, and it explodes at one point and booms, and you make loads back, and that pushes you into billionaire territory. I don't see that.
But so there's a couple of problems I have with that. So one, what gives them the right to make that kind of money with that amount of money in the first place? So like, for example, the only reason they can make that amount of money is because they had hundreds of million already, and that's not very fair, though, is it? To a certain degree. And just because you're because you're like just in like investing money doesn't mean you're not actively engaging in exploitation. Like you could be, you're like paying into a company that probably does contribute to exploitation, and that makes you just as bad, to me, at least.
I don't agree. I think
If you're funding exploitation, surely that makes you just as bad as the person.
Yeah, and
well,
George,
it
you did
depends on
say,
the company then. Like if it depends on, so if you're funding, I can't think of a company that is actively bad, but if you're funding someone that's quite obviously, I think of any like human rights violation. If they're quite obviously and actively doing that, then fine. I think
Yeah, but
that is
okay. Do this instead.
exploitation.
Name a company that you'd think doesn't use exploitation.
I don't know. Yeah. So maybe a telecoms company.
Okay, so a telecoms company, for example. Hold on, let me think for a second. Okay, so in a telecoms company, who makes the hardware for the telecoms?
Factories
And who works in those
yeah,
factories?
again, we don't. It depends on the company because I think there are like or British or American-based companies that are properly regulated that do
But
make
I think
parts
they're
and
incredibly a minority compared to
yeah,
what there
because
is at the moment.
any big business can exploit people like that. Any billionaire
Yeah, and
can
we're not talking
get
like
away with that
millions.
sort
We're
of thing.
talking 1,000
Yeah,
million here.
yeah,
That's a
exactly.
lot of
That is a
money.
ridiculous amount of money, and anyone can do that and get away with it because of the stupid amount of influence that they have over governments and over laws because of the amount of money they have. It's essentially a get out of jail free card.
Yeah,
okay. So with
for sure.
Amazon then,
Okay.
so Amazon, as we know, is a shop and they have other branches. So they allow different sellers to sell on their platform.
Mhm.
And they don't make a lot of products themselves. They do make products, but
Yeah, okay. Get rid of
they're
Amazon
not.
Basics. We're abstracted from that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say the products that the sellers are selling on the platform are made in a in not very savory conditions, so to speak, and
Okay.
they're made in the people making them are exploited to a certain degree.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think that Amazon has to take that punishment for that, considering they're a
Yes.
free
100%.
shop that just allows anyone to sell on their platform?
100%, because they're profiting from the exploitation.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
So
the thing.
let's say someone's making sunglasses in a factory in China,
Yeah.
and some seller logs into Amazon and decides to sell on that platform.
Mhm.
Do you think Amazon should take the punishment for that?
I think both of them should. They're both exploiting people. And
I don't agree.
both of them are profiting from the exploitation. So, and even if you just take out the seller from this, right? Let's just say a brand that is completely, I mean, I know this is almost completely impossible, but completely ethically sourcing things and selling them, right? Even by using Amazon, you are like an accessory to exploitation, because if you look at inside like Amazon workplaces, they're not allowed to unionize. They have scheduled bathroom breaks. They have to like reach these insane quotas to make sure they're packing boxes every day. That doesn't sound, and like this is for like a minimum wage. That doesn't sound like a happy job to me. That sounds like slavery.
Doesn't, and especially
I
since
don't know
has a
how
man
much.
at the top who is a man at the top who is so incredibly wealthy and a business that is so incredibly successful, and yet they still do that sort of thing.
He can afford to treat his workers way better, but he doesn't. And I feel to me is a very, very consistent factor in every single billionaire.
I don't necessarily agree that it's, or I don't think he's got as much involvement in the company and the inner workings as you might think. Obviously, it might be going on and it is going on, but I think he doesn't have that sort of direct power to be able to change the inner workings of the business
feel-
in the warehouses.
I feel like he does.
I don't
though.
think
he is the CEO.
He made it.
Yeah,
But they've got so many warehouses and so many different platforms worldwide.
But if he told the branch managers or whatever, right, or some devolved power to stop, they would stop. If he decided that they get paid more, they get paid more. But he's not.
But
he's not doing that.
He has to put that through a board, and he has to put that through other.
But he is the CEO. He is the chief
day,
executive officer, right? And regardless, right? Okay, let's say maybe Jeff Bezos hasn't done as much, but he's still profiting from it. So he's still exploiting people.
Still making millions.
In that case, in this day and age, it's effectively impossible to make any choices without, or buy anything without exploiting someone.
Yeah, that's why it's impossible to be entirely ethical within a capitalist system. And
so no.
Yeah, you go.
But I don't see as to how we could be completely ethical in any system. I think that's just.
Well, no, I don't know how it would be
ethical. A factor of humanity.
You could say that, but I'm just saying, as like in a capitalist system, that is what's happened, and it is especially exasperated with billionaires. I think billionaires are a physical manifestation of the profit and fruits of exploitation. And I think if you have that much money, so we did we remember the other day, Bryn, we did this thing. Jeff Bezos could have earned $200,000 a day every day since the day Jesus was born, and it still wouldn't amount to his net worth at the moment. And that you can't get that amount of money without exploiting people at all.
That is just a ridiculous amount of money. I saw somewhere he made one of his biggest sums of money recently, which was I'm not sure if this is right or not, but it was several billion in the space of a few days recently. He got a massive revenue, and that's just crazy. Like, can you think about that much money? And that guy just makes it like it's nothing.
But
like, you can't just do that.
Yeah, his workers are on scheduled bathroom breaks.
And he doesn't actually make the money though. It's just a rise in the stocks. Like,
but it's a rise in the stocks. Yeah, and you can say that the money's not like liquidated or whatever it's called, right? But it is it still represents the profit he's creating.
And at the end of the day, that profit's being made because of him originally, because of
the quote unquote empire that he's created. And I think billionaires at this level are emperors to a certain degree, because they have this political power, like this political capital and that kind of stuff. And it's just.
I'm just going to say, he doesn't actually have power to do as he pleases with that money, because if he were to sell stocks or liquidate his stocks, the business would just crash, because all of the shareholders and investors would see that the owner of the company is selling off stocks and think, oh God, something bad's about to happen, and do the same. So I don't think he's got as much freedom with that money as it might be.
I mean, yeah, you could say that, but he's still got billions of liquidated assets.
Tens of billions, hundreds of billions, or 800. But it's just crazy.
It is just crazy. Full stop.
Crazy. End of story.
End of story, indeed. That kind of ties into another topic I wanted to talk about. This isn't necessarily relevant, but it is kind of relevant. But the topic of not just universal basic income, but whether people that refuse to work should be given welfare and benefits.
Yes. No. Yeah, this is something that this is a split topic. This should be interesting, because I know that George may disagree on what.
Can I just voice my opinions from the outset here?
Okay, yes, for sure.
What I'll say is that anyone who has the ability to work in some capacity but refuses to do so simply on the basis that they don't want to, or they don't feel like they should have to, should not receive any benefit from the government whatsoever. I think if you want benefits, if you want help, you should have to make effort or work for that help unless you are disabled or in some way incapacitated.
Can I say, inheritance, you don't necessarily work for that, do you? But you still get given it.
No, yeah, that is a great take, actually.
I just thought of that, and I was like, wow,
But,
there we go.
because I think inheritance it's within the family, it's within your control. It doesn't affect anyone else. It's not coming out of taxpayers' pockets. It's within a confined group that already know the realms of that money. I don't think. Because
inheritance is something we should talk about on another time, because that is
I just wanted to use that as
it is an interesting take, for sure.
Because welfare comes out of taxpayers' money, essentially.
Yeah.
To what extent, I don't know, but that's the base of it.
Okay.
There we go.
Right. So, Bryn, did you have a take on this, or?
Well, the overall.
Yeah.
I guess. So, George, I used to agree with you quite a lot on this, but I guess listening to Archie and other sources and just kind of reading more about it, and I don't know, I've changed ever so slightly. I don't know if I fully agree that people who don't work shouldn't get benefits. I don't know if I fully disagree. I'm kind of on the fence with this one, but I do think that it is not really an appropriate way of living. If you don't want to work, you don't get help. Like, it's kind of like a work or die situation, and I don't know if that's really right.
But surely if we live in a normal and functioning society and everyone is helping out and pushing that society, so to speak, why should you have the right or feel as though you're good enough to be able to exploit that system and not work simply because you don't want to? Like, why should you?
Here's my take on this then. Okay, so one, it is very, very, very difficult to classify what work is. Okay, so would you say that someone that works a 9-to-5 minimum wage job contributes as much to society as someone that volunteers for a charity all day? Right?
Not
because I would say that the person that volunteers for charity all day probably contributes more to society, right? And so, but lots of people wouldn't classify that as work, right? So that's the first problem. You can't really classify something as work. Like, they refuse to work, but they're volunteering all day. So,
but they've made that choice. Do
we give them benefits or what?
No, I think they've made that choice to volunteer. That's on their back, and they're doing that out of the good of their own heart. I don't see as to why we should give them extra for doing that.
But they're helping our society, George. Why should we help them?
Then you get people that will.
Why does someone, right, that just sits on a computer all day trading stocks, how do they contribute more to society than someone that works on a charity every single day?
Yeah, someone that actually is aiming to help the people as opposed to their own profits. Or I'm not saying everyone who works a job is just caring about their profit, but
of course, okay, so that's my first problem with it. And also, for example, someone that like just makes art all day and like gives it to people, that's like art is a very, very vital part of society, and I feel like that should be I think it's very, very, very dangerous as a society, and we've come so far as like a collective to just say to people, okay, so if you don't work, if you don't make money, just die. We won't help you. You don't matter to us. I think that's an incredibly dangerous society to come to, and like we can support these people, and I think it's such an incredible minority of people like that just don't want to work and don't want to volunteer or whatever, that I think it's a sacrifice we have to be willing to make as a society to demonstrate that we support all people and that we've come far. Right?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, why shouldn't you be allowed to essentially pursue what you want, really, even if it is volunteering or like you said, just doing something like artistic that may not pay, may not give any taxes back to the government, but it's just something you want to do? Why do you have to be controlled by another
To
person?
me, making someone work or we just completely alienate them sounds like slavery. And we've come incredibly far as a society, and I don't think that is how we should portray it. And either way, let's say on a basic, right, let's say you were given by the government the very, very basic essentials for survival, right? So not great food, not just water, and that's really it. Okay? People don't want to live like that. But I think it's necessary to give people the choice, and I think it's necessary to give people the social safety net. So if something does happen, they can do that. Or if they want to volunteer, they can do that. Or if they want to just sell art or whatever, they can do that. I don't think they should be forced to work.
I just fundamentally disagree. I think that if someone has made the conscious choice that they just don't want to work, I don't see as to why they should have the entitlement to take reap the benefits of a society where a percentage does work simply because they don't feel like they want to. I think that if you want the benefit of a society, you should have to like push something into that society.
But like volunteers, do you not think volunteers in a charity are pushing anything positive towards society?
Yes, of course, but I think
so then where do you draw the line?
Yeah,
that's the problem then. So I think I'd classify a job as something where you have a set amount of hours and you're paid for those hours. That is what I see a job as. Or you are paid for the work that you do. That's a job. I think that if you choose not to do a job when you have the option to do so, just because you can't be bothered or you can't be asked, I don't think that's fair on the rest of society that does work.
I think that's an incredibly small minority that are like that. And I think yeah, carry on.
I think you'd be surprised at the amount of the population that if they were given the chance, they just skip work and sit on their arse.
No, because I think if there was a society where they got a universal basic income, people wouldn't be happy on that universal basic income. They want to do more, and I think that's pretty obvious. And I think the reason that this narrative is pushed, that people are poor, not poor people are lazy, because although that narrative is pushed a lot, I think the narrative that lots of people just give up work and not do anything is pushed by the people that wouldn't benefit from them giving up work. And I feel like it's a completely overblown situation.
And then
I look at it from the perspective of school. So you have a school where everyone's working to go as far as they can in life, and you'll get people that just don't work when they know what the consequences are. They just cannot be bothered, and I think there's a larger percentage of those than you think, and I think they're the people that in the future, if that option was given to them, they would just take all the benefits and not work or put anything into society
I think that's a completely different scenario, and I feel like, as I said, if they were given like the very, very basics, that you wouldn't be happy.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I was saying that if they chose to not work, as you say, and just sit at home, I don't think that's what they'd do. They would use these benefits to kickstart, most of them at least, most of these people either volunteer or kickstart something that they want to do in life. Maybe something outside of a normal job field that could eventually be quite beneficial to themselves and maybe
society.
Even society.
Yeah.
But if you've got a UBI and then someone goes and works for a charity where they're not paid, they're still, I don't know whether this is right, but they're still like only living on the basic, whether you get paid, like, because most charity work you don't get paid for. If you're just given a basic income,
yeah,
surely they'd still have a job. Surely that like rules out the original point of them making them like benefiting society in the first place. That makes sense. I don't know as to whether I worded that well.
Let me have a think for what you mean. If you wanted to say something, Bryn.
Yeah,
It's just,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I just feel like it's incredibly difficult to enforce what is work and what is not. And as a society, we need to be willing to admit that we can't do that, and we need to look after everyone all the time.
I think if you're going out every day and you're benefiting society in some way, like
Yeah,
you're
but
pushing something into
how can
society.
you quantify how much you're benefiting society? You're not like you don't get given like, okay, this is, you did this today, that's 20 points on your social credit score, now you get a little bit of UBI. Like it doesn't work like that, and it's impossible to make it work like that.
No, but I think if you're registered in a job, or if you're registered as working for a charity a certain amount of days or a certain amount of hours per week, then fair enough, you're benefiting.
Okay, so then what's the criteria of a charity then? What's the criteria of like a charitable cause?
If you're just going in 1 hour a week and working at a till, I don't necessarily think that that's deserving of extra benefits. But if you're going in every day or a certain amount of days per week and you're doing a job for free, I think that's perfectly fine. Then
Okay,
yes,
so what if you're going in every day and making art for people that like art, right? That can be, I could consider that a charity, but lots of people wouldn't, and that's how I feel like it's an issue. You can't quantify like what's what.
But you'd be selling that art, wouldn't you? Or is that
No,
not?
just giving it away.
See, I don't see that as necessarily a charity. I see that as just someone doing what they enjoy, and I don't think you should be. I don't agree that that's a fundamental disagreement. I don't agree that you should, because if you enjoy art and you enjoy making art, and I don't know, I don't agree with the fact that if you're not working a job, you should benefit from a society that a lot of people are.
And yeah, to my fundamental disagreement is that I don't think you should be forced to work. Just to,
Yeah,
I think everyone puts a positive impact on society, and that is impossible to be measured, and so we have to help everyone.
And yeah, at the end of the day, I think that this is where I look at it. This society doesn't often allow people to spend as much time as it should let them, pursue things that they want to do rather than things they have to do. And I think that people, not doing jobs that's them trying to escape the feeling of being slaves almost, and instead doing something that they actually want to do and improve their mental health.
I agree to that. I agree to that. To the point. Well, I completely agree with that actually. But like, for example, let's say, imagine all of the people, right, that are like extremely gifted and talented, right, but are kept down by this like slave-like work or die poverty situation that we have. Imagine if all of those people were given the ability to flourish. I think that would immeasurably outweigh the sacrifice in, let's say, funding the lazy people, although quote unquote I don't think anyone is lazy. But that's fundamental disagreement, I think.
Yeah, there we go. Well,
but yes, we've been talking for 58 minutes so far.
Oh, well,
this has been a bit more of a debate episode, I think.
It has, especially that last topic.
For sure. Interesting views all round, though. We'd like to hear what you guys think.
Indeed, be sure to comment in the on YouTube. We're happy to discuss with you, or like we said, talk to us on Instagram, or ask to be on the podcast, and we can talk to you then. Wherever you want, we're happy to discuss. We always like to discuss.
Yes, because although you see me and George may disagree at times, political discourse is one of the most valuable things, and without it, just nothing would work. And I think it's very important to preserve that. So yeah, any of you guys like to say anything in closing?
I don't know. I guess we've.
George, would you like a closing statement? Anything you'd like to say to the two viewers left?
Yeah, I guess I had the closing statement last week. George, we'll give you the honours of saying something.
If you don't
No. Goodbye.
Like
Goodbye,
like
people.
and
I'm not very good.
subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Yeah, turn on post notifications, and
Share,
we'll.
share it with your
Yeah.
buds. Share it with your
If you
pals.
if you don't share it with 3 other people, then
We'll cut your
then,
universal credit.
yeah. Sorry about that.
Sorry, it's just how it works. Anyway, see you later, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Yes. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.